Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of the Three Men of Football podcast. How are we doing, lads?
Good. Thomas, Simon, how are we?
Hi lads, how's it going?
All good. How are you both feeling?
Tired. I've had a couple of runs last couple of days, so I'm getting a bit old
to get
now.
fit again for the football season.
I have. I've got 4 weeks to lose 3 stone.
That'll be great. Just get a salt bath, you'll be all right.
Is it 4 weeks Saturday we start again?
That's the plan, isn't it?
Is it the 1st of April then, or something like that? 2nd of April?
It's the start of April, isn't it?
Yeah.
3rd.
Yeah.
Okay.
Saturday the 3rd, I think it is.
And we don't know at that stage who we'd be playing, but we know there'll be a game. And
we know we're back. Yeah.
Yeah.
Simon gets to kick someone again.
Imagine how unfit we're going to be.
I presume it's walking football.
Yeah.
I've been playing that for the last 3 years.
Yeah. Thomas has been playing it all of his life.
Yeah. I think it'll just be nice just to get out again, you know, and it's been great weather recently and people have been going out a little bit more, but it'll be nice to do it officially. And
yeah, we've been complaining about the weather and the dark nights and, you know, getting up when it's dark to start work and finishing work when it's dark. And all of a sudden there was a bit of sun over the weekend. What was that?
Yeah.
Nice.
I don't know, mate. It went a bit nuts.
Yeah. Anyone ventured to get the barbecue out yet?
No, I'm going to wait till it rains.
Oh, good.
Yeah, proper barbecue, British barbecue.
Thomas, you love a barbecue. Have you not got yours out yet?
To be honest, I've prepped all the garden. Hot subs coming out the attic this week. It's going in the garden ready. I've jet washed everywhere. I've cut the grass, first cut of the year. My garden's gleaming. So,
Thomas, is the hot tub ready for after the game in 4 weeks?
Yeah.
All the team heading back to yours.
I don't know about that, Daz. You've got a bit too far there.
I meant selected team.
Social distancing, Darren.
So you've got the garden going, right? And you're going to put the hot tub in. You're currently on a bit of a fitness drive. How are those two things going to go together? Hot tub, if the weather's good, there's no doubt that you're drinking.
No, well, I'm going to drink on Saturday because it's Rachel's birthday. A couple of rum and cokes, Diet Coke. But apart from that, no, I'm off it.
So the Penguin was back giving you crap as well, wasn't he, on Facebook?
Yeah, to be honest, he fleets in, doesn't he? says one little nonsense, which I ignore, and then he fleets off again, or he waddles off.
Yeah, he was giving you absolutely loads. He was. Yeah.
I like him.
Yeah, because he says nice things about you, Daz. You're the only one of us that he actually says nice things about.
Yeah, he doesn't really know me.
But he's a good lad. We need to get a question in from him.
Yes,
well, to be honest, what we need to do is we need to question why you look like a hobo, Darren.
Yeah.
You look like on YouTube, the whole world can see you. You've got friends in America. They're all going to be looking at you going, Darren's looking a bit dishevelled there.
He's letting himself go.
Yeah, what's going on?
Listen,
looking all rough.
Listen, I'm going to get a skinhead.
Oh, mate, do it.
I'm a little bit disappointed in how rough you look. In fact, if I was a parent of one of the kids that you were teaching, I'd be phoning the school and saying, "I know we're on lockdown, but can Mr. Partington make a bit of an effort, please?
Can you send them a food Can you send them a food parcel and a sleeping bag?
A couple of big issues to sell. I wear shirt and tie for school.
And do you know what? I have seen that, and it does surprise me and shock me every time I see it.
Yeah, because there's no trousers.
What a great way to kick things off, Daz. Let's hope no one is listening. All right, so the plan today is we're going to have a look at the games over the weekend. It's Monday now, so the majority of games have been played. Only one on tonight. And then we're going to get into what is quickly becoming our favourite segments, which is the questions from listeners, watchers, the audience. And we've got another really good bunch today. And then at the end, mate, we'll do a bit more word association with Thomas.
I love that bit.
It's brilliant. Last week went down really well, although I did have to bleep out about half the episode. Because you went on a couple of really bad rants. I was editing after we'd done the podcast, and all you could hear in our house really loud was that you going on an absolute rant before I'd beeped it out.
It's lucky your kids know me, Shai.
I know. All right, so let's get into the games. First game up was Man City versus West Ham. City won 2-1. Couple of things of note that I spotted in this. Firstly, City didn't look as good as they have been, although they ground out a win 2-1. Aguero and De Bruyne were both back. which I think is a massive thing for them. Got a bit of time to get back up to speed, but certainly De Bruyne looked excellent in the game. Diaz and Stones both scored and looked excellent at centre half. They've created a really good partnership. West Ham played okay, did well during the game, had some great chances. And Antonio missed a whopper where he could have put them up and made it much more difficult for City. But generally, it went with form. But I think West Ham played a lot better than people would have expected, given what City have been blown teams away the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, I think what you're seeing, certainly from John Stone now, is the player that, people thought he would turn into. And when he left Everton, he had a couple of rocky games then, and they got injured, and he didn't quite become the player that I think Pep thought he could be. And since he's come back this season, I think he's been outstanding. I think defensively he's been outstanding, and now he's getting a couple of goals as well, which adds to your game as a centre-half. I think getting Aguero back at this time is perfect time, and if he can get himself fit over the next 2 or 3 games, he'll be ready for Champions League and for that final push. I don't think they need a final push in the league, but I do think they'll use that to get his game time up because they really want the Champions League. I think the league's wrapped up now.
Do you think Stones getting better though, Daz, is related to Diaz, or do you think it's just they've been working with Stones and actually he's just coming good? Because I was thinking about this over the weekend and they've had him for a while. It's not like they haven't been able to work with him. Pep's been with him for a while and he hasn't been great. Now all of a sudden with Diaz, he looks much more solid. Is that something about the way Diaz is playing?
I think it's a combination. I think when you play centre half, you feel comfortable with certain players, and other players you think I've got to have to try and do something different in my game to cover there or to move across quicker because you're not comfortable in their ability. I think with Stones and Diaz, they've got a really good combination there. I think both of them complement each other, and I think it's showing for City. I think they look very strong at the back.
Yeah, I think similar to when Van Dijk come into Liverpool,
Who had 4 minutes 37 seconds for Van Dijk.
He hasn't mentioned them for at least a couple of weeks, does?
No, just saying when he come into Liverpool, he done the same thing. Straight away, he settled all the players down around him, didn't he? Whoever was playing centre-half, Sean. There was times in the year when we won the Champions League that Joel Matip looked unplayable. He was that good, and he was just that relaxed playing alongside knowing he had Virgil next to him. And maybe that's what it is. He's got someone that he can rely on. He doesn't think he has to do that extra fancy stuff that he was trying previously. And he's been there for three or 4 years now. So he's had a lot of time to work on his game. And someone coming in as good as Diaz has just helped him settle down. I think that's all it is. Which
is funny because Laporte's a decent defender as well. He's their backup centre-half now, which is hilarious, however much he cost. But that he's a good player, but it's funny the way, you put him with a different player alongside him and all of a sudden it just clicks into place, and all of that coaching that he's getting, and he's obviously getting some decent coaching, seems to be paying off because they look really good together.
Yeah, it's
They're
just
both pretty fast as well. Stones is not that fast, but he's big, so he gets about the park, whereas Diaz seems really quick off the mark.
They've got an understanding as well, and that's what it's about as a centre-half. You're pairing. You've got to have that understanding of, okay, well, if he's going to win that, I know what position, or I know how to come across because I know he's going to deal with this.
Yeah.
And I think that's really important. And I think where teams in the past have suffered is because that centre-half partnership just isn't right. I look at Villa, Mings and Konza that we've got. Individually, you'd almost say they're decent players, good players, but together they just seem to work.
Yeah.
Going back even further, you look at Bruce and Pallister. Bruce wasn't the best player in the world, but he was a really good defender with Pallister. They complemented each other, and I think that's where Hyypiä and Carragher complemented each other individually. I liked Hyypiä, but they were just very, very good.
That's a good point. I hadn't thought about them too, but that's a good point because they weren't great individually. Hyypiä was probably a better footballer. Carragher was probably more committed. But as a partnership, they played really well together. But maybe that's it. Maybe that's the trick. But I mean, City are looking good. They went 13 points ahead when they won, when they beat West Ham. I mean, that's a difficult mountain for anyone to climb now.
At this stage of the season, definitely.
Yeah. But look, one thing I wanted to bring up was City's bench. I think
it's crazy.
I'd love to know how much that bench was worth. And I tell you, apart from Chelsea, possibly Man United, I think their bench was probably worth nearly the majority of the Premiership's whole team.
Yeah.
Cost. So if they can afford to have that on the bench, that amount of money on the bench, then, teams are going to struggle to compete with them.
And with Aguero and De Bruyne back, they've got more or less got a full complement. I think they're obviously nailed on now for the league. But I think they're in a good position to win the Champions League. I don't know whether they've got enough to get themselves over the line, because I don't know whether there's a bit of bottling going on there as well. But in terms of quality, I don't think there's anyone else that competes with them in the depth of their squad anywhere in Europe.
Yeah.
Okay, so next up was West Brom versus Brighton, and I watched this game, and it was all over the place in terms of what was going on in the game. But the big talking point was the Lewis Dunk free kick. So free kick gets given, Wall starts setting itself up. Lewis Dunk places the ball, asks the referee if he can take a quick free kick. Referee says yes, or this is what he says. Says yes, blows the whistle. Lewis Dunk takes the free kick, goes in the far corner. Just before it goes in, referee blows the whistle again. All hell breaks loose because he stops it and disallows the goal. Then, a couple of seconds later, he gives the goal. Then he goes and has a conversation with VAR, and they disallow the goal. I mean, what was anyone see that any differently, or was that just an absolute mess?
No, you're right, Si. And the same thing happened with Dunk at Liverpool last year. He asked for a quick free kick, and he took it and scored. And Adrian was in goal at the time, and he was lining up his wall. And the same as the West Brom goalie was on his wall. And I don't think it's all well and good saying, can I take a free kick? But if your goalkeeper isn't in goal and is stood on his post, surely to God, the referee shouldn't allow the goal.
But isn't that the point of the quick free kick? It's like saying you get a free kick in the middle of the park and the players in front of you are not ready for it. Does that mean you can't take it because you've got to allow them time to get ready? Because that's the way the rule has changed, isn't it? The rule is,
I suppose,
you can take a quick free kick. In fact, we've benefited from it on a Saturday at times. I do think that if you're on the receiving end of it, then you're not happy because the goalkeeper is... And then what generally happens is, if you think about amateur football, the keeper will ask, are we going with the whistle? Or a centre-half will ask, or a central midfielder will ask, are we going with the whistle? So then you know you've got time to set up your wall. If not, you've got to have your eye on the ball and have your eye on who's got the ball. So I think that's the keeper's fault. I don't think it's Lewis Dunk's issue.
Yeah, no, I think the advantage has to go with the attacker in that instance with the free kick. It has to, because otherwise you're waiting for the keeper to get everything set up right. Oh, come on, no, a little bit more, moving the ball, whatever. So you've lost the little advantage that you might have. And I think the referee either bottled it, and Lewis Dunk afterwards was quite rightly calling the referee to come out and explain. And I think we're in a position now where when they don't, and there's almost like a no comment from the referee association, whoever controls it, then you know they've got it wrong.
Well, actually, we got a question about this from Andy McFarlane, so now's a good time to ask it. His question was, in a post-match interview, Lewis Dunk suggested that Lee Mason should have been interviewed after the game to explain his decision. Do you think the Premier League should consider media interviews of officials after the games?
I think it's a difficult one. But until that happens in some capacity, whether it's with the managers after the game or the captains after the game, without the television, or they come out on the television and get grilled, we're going to keep having this problem with referees doing something that no one knows what's going on.
But in theory, they do that, don't they? They do the bit with the managers and players because, well, I mean, some of them will and some of them won't. But in theory, the manager can go and have a conversation with the referee after the game. That's not bad. That's not banned. The issue is that then when it comes to the media, when it comes to the interviews, you're getting that third hand, because then it's the manager giving his opinion on what the referee said. May not have understood them properly or correctly, and then it's Chinese whispers, isn't it?
Yeah.
By the time it gets out into the press, it's something totally different. And I understand why they protect them, especially because, we talked about this the other week and how much they're paid and how much pressure they're under. You've got to be really careful that they're not influenced. But at the same time, if you don't know why they're making a decision, that creates the lack of confidence in the referees. And right now, they're having a nightmare.
The other side of the coin is, you look at rugby, they mic the referees up.
Yeah.
I was just going to say that, Darren.
Okay,
Australia, they mic football referees up. So the A-League, I think it's called, they're all mic'd up. So you can hear VAR talking to the referee. You can hear the linesman or assistant referees talking to the referee in the middle of the pitch. And it was great. I watched a clip of one the other day where the referee's talking to the linesman saying, I think he's got a touch on that ball there, and the linesman's going, no, he hasn't. I think it's a penalty, and the referee's going, no, I'm going to overrule you. I think I've seen a touch on the ball first. And it's great. So you can understand where the decision-making is coming from because you're hearing it live. And if they're bound to ask for assistance. So they're going to turn around and say, right, what's your thoughts on this? Or VAR, can you jump in and help me on this? I'm not 100% on my decision. But if you're not 100%, as soon as you say that, you don't give the decision. And you can understand where it's coming from. Or my line of sight isn't right here. I think there was a coming together, or there's a penalty, or is the wall lined up? Are we 10 yards? Are we free to let him take this quick? Have I made a mistake here by letting him go early? It'd be great if they went down that route.
Yeah, I think.
And then you don't need the interview, because the interview afterwards, I don't think will happen in this league, because it's going to be a case of you were right or you were wrong. You've had a good game, and there isn't really a lot to talk about. Or how did you miss that tackle on that player? He's out for the rest of the season. Why didn't you give a red card? Why didn't you miss the goal? Or why didn't you miss that offside?
The issue, I think, as well, that they've brought in these celebrity referees as well
Yeah.
to try and explain what they're thinking, and they don't get it right.
No.
Also, they never seem to give a real opinion either, do they?
No,
Until they're really pushed into it. It's always like, well, it's subjective, and maybe he's seen it this way, or maybe he's seen it that way. They're being very, very careful.
They are, and they're careful with the language they use, and they're careful with what rules they quote. I do think the way forward, if we're going to see an improvement in officiating in the Premier League, I do think miking up is the way forward. Even if they trialled it in cup games or something, just to see how it would work. Because the problem is with VAR, the technology's there, it's just not getting used right.
Yeah.
And that's the issue.
I mean, you'd hope that it evolves over the next couple of years, and we get it into something that makes some sense. We've talked about the fact that maybe there's a variant of VAR that could work, but we can't even figure it out, and then we're giving people crap about not figuring it out. What we know is right now it's not working, and referees are too reliant on VAR and not making the big decisions.
Just on that side,
I think that's an issue.
Yeah, I was watching something before, and they talked about this clear and obvious. Now, that's massive for me. If it's clear and obvious, then VAR steps in. If it's not, then let the game go.
Yeah.
But then people start deeming what's clear and obvious.
Exactly. It's that blurred line. It's like we were talking the other week about the line, and you've got to draw a line somewhere, whether it be the end of someone's sleeve or the top of someone's head. It's a line. And then you're still talking about centimetres here and there. A couple of years ago, we went to a place where the referees and assistants were still making the decisions, and they were told to give the advantage to the attackers. You've totally changed that now. It's totally the other way around. The advantage is with the defenders, not the attackers, because it's precise. Anyway, the no VAR needed in your game, Daz. Leeds versus Villa at Leeds, 1-0 win to Villa. That's a great win, and it looked like, I've watched extended highlights. Really good goal from Villa. Martinez was outstanding again.
Yeah.
But Leeds did have some decent chances. I think from what I could see, Villa were not entirely tight at the back. Give some chances away, and Martinez did great.
Leeds could have won it, to be honest with you. They had enough chances. We played well. We defended well. We looked better in terms of our fitness. He took Barkley out, brought in one or two new lads, Marvelous and Cantor, played centre mid to block, and I just thought the shape looked better. The players in the shape looked better. The pitch was awful. That pitch is going to cause someone a bad injury because they just slip over. It got relayed or something at Christmas or something. It's not quite knitted. But it's interesting because I've been on the podcast talking about Konza as a defender. So how good he is. And I'm going to say something now that might be controversial. Jamie Carragher must listen to this because he's just spent on Sky Sports Monday night 20 minutes or 10, 15 minutes talking about how good Konza is.
Yeah,
and I think
listened to that.
for me, yeah, and it's everything that I've been talking about. So, Jamie, just admit it. Just come out and tell us that you listen to it.
But he's just listening to another Scouts podcast, isn't he? That's all right. You know, we won't hold it against him.
Yeah, but it's true, actually. What he's saying is Conzo's position in games is very good. He's getting blocks in when he should be getting blocks in. You know, I've been giving Mings a bit of stick over the last couple of months.
Oh,
it's just come out. But the last 2 games, Mings has gone back to basics and looked better. He almost had that John Stones when he was getting too arrogant and too cocky and making little mistakes and costing us. He's gone back to basics, which I think is great. And to be fair, you know, I thought on the whole, we did quite well. And without Grealish as well, you know, it was a really good win.
The Taggart, is the fullback Taggart?
Yeah.
He left it on Rafinha, didn't he? That stud tackle.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it wasn't a red, but he definitely left it on him.
Blame the pitch for that.
Very good win that, Darren, without Grealish, because you do rely quite a lot on Grealish to deliver for you, don't you? Yeah,
and there's no doubt about it. When you have a quality player like him in your team, you want him on the ball as much as you can, and he does create things. And he'd have the multiples of space on that pitch. He'd have loved it, absolutely loved it. But fair play to the lads who came in, did a really good job.
Yeah, it's good win. Next game was Newcastle versus Villa. Old Fathead versus...
Mate, we couldn't have played Newcastle because we were
playing
Leeds.
Versus Wolves. From the same area, does. Obviously, Fathead versus Thomas's fancy team, Wolves. So we won't go too far into Newcastle because we've got some questions later on about how they're playing and some of their players. But there was a couple of things that I picked up from the game. Firstly, Almiron missed a massive chance one-on-one with the keeper. Should have scored. Newcastle had a disallowed goal as well. Traore hit the post. Keeper should have saved Wolves' goal. Definitely, the Newcastle keeper.
Yeah.
The Wolves cleared one off the line late. And then the Newcastle keeper made an amazing save in the final minutes. That game went either way right throughout. Obviously, finished 1-1. But really good game. Both teams were attacking pretty wide open at the back. I thought there was too many chances. You wouldn't be happy if you were the defensive coach in that team. But it was a good game. Enjoyed it.
I felt Newcastle. They played quite well. To be fair, they were quite open, but they did play well. They went for it a bit, but they've had Maximum's gone off injured again.
Oh.
Now he's going to be massive miss for them because they're getting quite close to relegation. And I just think he's the one who could have kept them up a little bit. You know, got a few goals, chances. One or two other injuries. Lads went off with injuries as well. So Steve Bruce got a massive job there to do. Really, really massive job to keep them up in the Premier League.
You might want to go and help him out, Thomas. You know, you're
honest, I didn't want to say too much, but I think with the run of games that they've got coming up, they really need players to be fit, because I think there's 13 games to go and they're right in the fight. Fulham have hit a bit of form. They're picking up points left, right and centre. If Newcastle don't go on a bit of a run and get some points on the board, they're going to get dragged into it and they're going to really struggle. Because once you
ahead right now,
it's nothing really, is it?
No. So let's have a look at what fixtures they've got coming up.
And have they got Fulham to play?
I think they have, haven't they? So they've got next game is away to West Brom, then at home to Villa, then away to Brighton. I mean, they're all big games for them, especially the West Brom and Brighton games. Then they've got Spurs at home, Burnley away, West Ham at home, Liverpool away. I mean, that's a difficult April for them, isn't it?
Every game's a cup final there for them. They have to go out and win games.
Let's see what points are they on?
They're on 26, I think.
God, so they still need 14 points, really, don't they?
Yeah. Minimum 12 to get away with it.
Yeah, they're on 26 points. So everyone down the bottom has played 26 games, in fact, right the way through. And it's Sheffield United on 11 points, West Brom on 17 points, Fulham on 23 points, and Newcastle on 26. I think we said last week, West Brom are down. I mean, unless they go on some mad run now, they're down. Sheffield United are definitely down.
Simon, just on that.
Newcastle.
Look at Brighton. Brighton are on 26 points as well.
Yeah, they are, yeah. And then the next step up is Burnley at 28.
You think Burnley might just have enough, but Brighton might get sucked in as well.
I mean, I thought they were poor this week. I mean, we'll talk about that in a bit, but
yeah,
I don't know. I think it's really tight down there. I mean, it's tight everywhere now. If you look at the top 8, it's really tight outside the city. Look at the bottom, it's really tight. I think it makes for a good season, good end to the season.
Yeah.
Okay, next game was one that I didn't watch. Crystal Palace versus Fulham, 0-0. Couldn't have been happier not to watch it. What a boring game.
I think we said 4-4, did we?
Yeah. And, I mean, Fulham away, they'll take a draw there at Crystal Palace. But, I mean, bet you that was a terrible game to watch.
I tell you what, Fulham would have been desperate for the points there.
Yeah.
Palace have been on a bad run.
Yeah.
The poor. And I believe Benteke missed a sitter in that game, which is not unusual, but it's it's a bad result for Fulham, really. Only a point when they should be going there and capitalising on teams like Palace.
Yeah, I agree.
If they want to get out of it, they've got to start winning.
I'm with you. They don't look good. Next game was Leicester-Arsenal, 3-1 Arsenal. So there was a couple of big talking points in this one as well. I thought this was a reasonable game as well, both going after the game. I thought Arsenal played better than they've played in a while. They definitely look like they're picking up. But there was a penalty given by the referee and then overturned by VAR on the edge of the area off to the right.
Yeah.
Literally right on the edge of the area. And then there was also a handball against Ndidi. So on one hand, the VAR worked in favour, and on the other hand, the VAR gave the penalty.
And they were both right decisions.
Yeah, I think so as well. Yeah,
it evens itself out, doesn't it?
yeah. That's what we like to say when it's not our team, does.
Yeah, definitely.
But I think Arsenal are hitting a little bit of form as well. They're doing okay. They look like they're playing better. I mean, I'm saying they're hitting a little bit of form. It's not like they've gone on a run, but they definitely look a little bit better at the moment than they have been.
Yeah, go on, Thomas.
So there was a bit of criticism before the game. Because he rested Aubameyang and Saka, and they put in a great performance, Arsenal, after going a goal down. But I watched all the highlights of the games that I've seen, there was a lot of poor defending, and there was a lot of poor team defending this weekend. The first goal Tielemans scored.
Yeah. Oh, what was that? They were wide open.
He ran. It just ran, and no one challenged him. No one closed the space in front of him, made it easy for him. And he scored at the far post, but it was poor. Same in the Tottenham game. Yeah. The Burnley defence and midfield just kept on dropping off and giving players 20, 30 yards to run into, which was creating massive problems for the opposition. It was just a lot of poor defending over the weekend.
Yeah, it wasn't great.
What worries me about Leicester is they've had a couple of chances there to really consolidate second place, and they've just let themselves down a little bit. And Ashley Barnes went off. It looked like Vardy was carrying an injury. They're almost the opposite of what Man City do. Man City getting the players back, and Leicester are losing 1 or 2, 3 of the key players. Yeah, and Leicester's squad isn't good enough to lose those players and replace them with good players. So I think Leicester, if they're not careful, they could slip a little bit and they'd be overtaken into the top. Well,
United went ahead of them into second because they drew with Chelsea. So I mean, that's how tight it is. United drew, Leicester got beaten, United went ahead of them.
How many points are Leicester on there, Simon? Do we know?
They are on 49. Okay. So it's City on 62, Man United on 50. And we're all on the same games now, by the way. Man United on 50, Leicester on 49, West Ham on 45, Chelsea on 44, Liverpool on 43, Everton on 43, Tottenham on 39. The top 8 is ridiculous. Well, from 2 to 8 is where it's close. It's 2 or 3 wins or bad results, and you're right back in it.
And the games are coming thick and fast, so you need to pick up.
They are. And then the next game actually was a big one, was Tottenham playing Burnley. Now, Burnley have turned over some teams like they did with Liverpool, and Tottenham just blew them away. Again, I watched the majority of this, and Tottenham just totally dominated the game. Burnley looked useless. Gareth Bale scored a couple of goals, but it just seemed wide open. That first half, they were 3-0 up, and it could have been 10.
Yeah. Yeah,
it's crazy.
But again, the shape, Burnley's shape and defending as a team was really poor. Every time someone picked the ball up in midfield, or Kane dropped off the defence and went into midfield to pick the ball up, the defence just ran back towards their own goal and the midfield. Everybody had loads of time to just push right up the field with the ball, which was creating massive problems for them. It was really poor. I was shocked after such a good performance against Liverpool and previous teams that they've been playing the last couple of weeks. I wasn't expecting that from Burnley. I thought it'd be a tight affair with maybe one goal in it. But for that to happen, I was shocked.
What I quite liked is the front four, if you like, were crossing over. They were swapping around. They were finding the pockets that Burnley were allowing them to find and getting in between the lines and almost breaking the lines, which I thought was excellent. Gareth Bale, that's probably the best I've seen him play in a long while.
Years, yeah.
Yeah, and you're hoping that might kickstart it. It was interesting with Tottenham. I think the formation he slightly changed, and Mourinho went for it. And he's like that, Mourinho. He catches you off guard a little bit. And playing those four all together, Son, Kane, Bale,
Moura.
and who? Sorry,
Moura.
Lucas Moura.
Yeah, playing those four straight away. The movement was unbelievable at times. And as you said, 3-0 up, but it could have easily been more.
It was, but tactically, what he did was he got it right against Burnley. What'll happen is, as soon as he comes up against the team that are going to put him under any pressure, he'll park the bus again and he'll play on the counter-attack. Because the problem is that if you look at the way Tottenham was set up and if you watch the game, it wasn't just wide open for Tottenham. It was wide open for Burnley as well. Just Burnley didn't take advantage of it. What Burnley didn't do was close down the spaces, cope with the front four well enough, and then catch them on the break like they did against Liverpool. What they did was Burnley were a little bit more wide open and Tottenham just totally exploited them and Burnley couldn't take advantage of the gaps that they found. And in the first half, Tottenham blew them away. It was, as I say, if you watch Moura's goal, it was almost like it was on a training pitch.
Yeah.
It was that easy.
What was interesting is Jamie Redknapp and Keane
Brilliant.
having a little go at each other over comments that we've made again on this podcast about Tottenham's defence. And I thought Keane was right, and I thought Redknapp was trying to defend something that was you can't defend.
He was, but it was almost like he just wanted an argument, wasn't it? I actually like the fact that Jamie Redknapp was standing up to him a little bit, but Keane is just like the village idiot, isn't he? I mean, I like him.
He's the Simon Cowell of
I'm glad you said Cowell because I looked at our boss then.
No, but he is. He's like, whatever argument you've got, he's going to argue the other side of it. And he's also, depending on who he's sat with, he takes a different perspective. And I think all he's doing is he's just trying to wind people up. So on one hand, he's car crash telly. I love watching him commentating or doing the colour commentary. But actually, he's just a bit of a dick, isn't he?
I like him. I think what he does, I think he makes people commit in the comments and back it up. And I thought he was spot on with Tottenham's defence. How many of them would get into? But the left back I thought actually was quite good, to be fair.
Yeah,
but the other three, would they get into another top team? The answer is probably no.
Dyer wouldn't get into the South Vets.
No, not while I'm still mates with the manager.
He's not a centre half. It's like playing Jordan Henderson centre half, but Dyer's half the player of Henderson. So it's not going to work. If you come up against a decent forward, you're going to struggle, and he struggles all the time. And I think Tottenham get away with it, but they've got a real problem there because they've got Alderweireld, who's not a bad player, but he's basic. You've got Dyer, who's not a natural centre half. You've got Lloris, who's not quite good enough. You've got Aurier. I don't actually know what he does. I don't know whether he's a defender or a winger or a wannabe winger. And then you've got a left back who actually looks like a decent player, decent young player.
But it goes back to what we started off with earlier in the podcast about you've got to find a pairing at centre half.
Yeah.
And they haven't yet. They've got two players who play.
They're missing Vertonghen.
Vertonghen, yeah. Him and Alderweireld were good because Vertonghen was more experienced.
Yeah.
You haven't got that now.
But also, I liked when Mourinho went in there and he pulled Aurier to one side and he said, you really worry me. And he was looking at him like, why? He said, because you don't you switch off at the wrong time. You make the wrong decision at the right time for the opposition. You really worry me. And that was on his first day in the club meeting the players. So he already knows that he's got a problem with the player.
Yeah. Well, they definitely need to do something, but the question is, are they going to invest? And also what did they then do with Bale? But again, we'll talk about that as we get later into the season. The next game was Chelsea United. I don't know whether anyone watched this, but I thought it was a really poor game.
Yeah.
The thing that stood out for me was there was no real drive from United. You're thinking United are up there. United are challenging. This is as good a chance as any for them to finish second. And they just didn't go for it. And Chelsea didn't really play that well at all. And Tuchel was not happy about the way they played. You could see him just getting frustrated on the line. And I thought that was a bit of a nothing game, and United could have really got at them.
Yeah, I still maintain United need a centre forward.
Cavani didn't play, did he?
No, Cavani 5 years ago. I mean, Mark Hughes mentioned it earlier on. That they need to have a focal point, and they haven't. They've got too many players who don't play centre forward, but play everywhere, left and right. And they haven't found what works yet. And we're into nearly, the last third of the season.
Yeah.
They still haven't found a combination that works. Fernandes was non-existent in the game. I thought he didn't do enough in the game for me.
He was off though, wasn't he? If you watch some of the game, he was getting really frustrated with Chelsea passing the ball back to their centre halves. He threw a little tantrum in the middle of the park at one stage.
But I also think Kante played him brilliantly.
Oh, outstanding.
Outstanding he was. And it just goes to show you sometimes you nullify one player and people don't know where to go.
Yeah.
It goes back to the dodgy handball in that one?
To be honest, it's a penalty.
I thought it was a penalty.
Yeah, I thought so as well.
Yeah, it's a penalty. The way the rule is this year, it was definitely a penalty. It was what was the lad that got taken off last week? It was him, wasn't it? Yeah, was it him that done it and bowled it?
Yeah.
I mean, he's jumped up like that. He's gone to head the ball, and his hand's there to try and get him off the floor, and he's got it with his hand first. And every day of the week in this new climate with the handball rule, it's a penalty.
I mean, the two of them had gone up with their arms up, but it is his hand first. So then, in theory, it's a handball. I mean, that'd be a harsh one if it was your team, but by the letter of the law, it's a penalty.
Yeah.
Solskjaer was not happy at all either, was he?
But what was interesting is the comments afterwards by Luke Shaw.
I didn't see that.
And he's come out, Luke Shaw, and said,
"Oh yeah,"
along the lines of the referee said he couldn't give it because it had just caused too many problems.
I did hear that.
After the game,
after
too much controversy.
Yeah, and I'm just thinking, and the FA have come out today, whoever the referee panel have come out and said they're not going to charge Luke Shaw with any misconduct or Ollie, and I'm thinking that tells me that he did say it.
Unbelievable.
Because
what are you thinking?
He'd said that to Harry Maguire, apparently.
Yeah. Or H, as Luke Shaw calls him.
Yeah.
Line of duty starts in a couple of weeks, Darren.
Oh, I can't wait.
Whatever. All right, let's move on from that game because it was crap anyway. The last game was Sheffield United versus Liverpool. Much needed win for the Reds, 2-0. Not a vintage performance, but certainly a lot better. I thought the first half, we looked great, passed the ball about well. And then in the end, it was a comfortable win, but certainly not our greatest performance. But as we were saying on text before the game, we needed a win. Yeah. We needed a bit of a performance. I think we got both. We didn't get a great performance, but we definitely got a better performance. They fought really hard. Curtis Jones, I thought, looked excellent. I've given him some crap on this podcast, but in the last maybe 5 or 6 weeks, he stood out for me. He's been a step up. He's done much better. He's taken more responsibility. And then his interview after the game was fantastic, where he called out Ali's dad passing away, dedicated his goal to him, talked really well, was obviously really nervous and maybe a little bit upset as well, but dealt with it really well and come across well.
I like to see that in a player. I do like to see that in a player. I thought Robinson was outstanding in that game.
Amazing.
I thought his energy helped Liverpool because he was almost setting the tempo to the game. And it looked like he's gone back to what he was like, 12 months ago.
Yeah.
Because I thought he was excellent. A little shout out to Phillips, who did everything that was expected of him against Sheffield United. They would always try and put everything in the air. They were going to be a bit of a bully on him, if you like. But I thought he stood up to it well. They played to his strengths, which was heading the ball, getting in the way. Fair play to him. He did well.
Yeah, I've got some concerns about Phillips, to be honest. And I've seen it in a couple of games. When it's just a brute strength, ball straight down the pipe, he's outstanding. He's up, he's strong, he gets up early, he can hang in the air. and he puts everything into the headers to go right through the man. He's great. What he is lacking is he's lacking a lot of pace, and what I've noticed a couple of forwards doing is they're standing him up, so they're committing him, they're stopping, they're standing him, and then they're going past him, and he just hasn't got that reaction speed to be able to close that gap, and he's easily beat. And I've got my concerns if Timo Werner plays against him on Thursday and he's caught in that position. Same for Kadak as well. He sometimes caught flat-footed. A couple of goals have come from him being stood square on and not anticipating them going past him. And I was just impressed more. I was impressed with Liverpool's chances that they created. So they created a lot of chances. Individuals did something to create themselves a chance. I know Bobby didn't get the goal awarded to him, but he actually did something to try and get that goal rather than just pass it back out wide and expect Trent or Robinson to whip the ball in and for us to score. Our movement was great. Our desire was great. We pressed really well. And I thought, you're going to win games if you create chances. And we created a lot of good chances, and individuals created their own chances. Yeah. So it was a step in the right direction. Like you said, it wasn't a perfect performance all round, but, good 2-0 win. And I also liked Roy Keane's analysis after the game, where he was having a go at the manager. Is it Wilder?
Yeah.
He was having a go at Wilder. Not having a go as such. Wilder admitted that they're going down, and their ethos for the club is to buy the best championship player and then just work hard and go on and do a great job. And Roy Keane turned around and said, well, last year you did that and you beat a load of teams and you got a load of results and you won loads of games and you kept loads of clean sheets. He said, but this year you haven't. So you deserve the criticism because you've got the same squad. You've been and bought players, and it's down to you. If you've bought players and they're not good enough, well, you shouldn't have bought them. And we applauded you all last year for your games and how well you played and how well you competed. And this year you haven't done that. And I was quite impressed with that, because I thought you can't always just go because you haven't got the most money, or you've still got to compete in games, and they haven't really done that this year. They've been rolled over quite easy. Defensively, They haven't been good enough. So I like that when he picked up on them points after the interview. Yeah,
but also they've spent a little bit of money on Brewster for 15 million and not playing him. Now, you've either got to say, I'm giving you 10 games or whatever to find your stride, if you like, because when you go to a new club and if you're the striker, you've got to be playing. You can't go in for 2 or 3 games then come out. And I wonder why they bought him if he wasn't going to be.
I think it's a terrible buy, Das. You spotted this earlier on in the year as well, and it's a really good spot because he looks like a decent player. But if you're a Sheffield United and your ethos is buy a great championship player and just work hard, Brewster is not the answer. If you just need to stay in the Premier League, Brewster is not the answer. He's not going to get you 15 to 20 goals. He's not going to get you 10 goals. What they needed to do was go and buy someone who was proven in the lower end of the Premier League and then get them motivated, get them to play better and get them to score goals. Brewster's not the answer, because to tell you what's going to happen, they're going to go down and then they're going to sell Brewster. They're not making a load of money on him.
Yeah.
Or what will happen? Yeah. Or what will happen is 1 or 2 other players will go and Brewster will become a good player in the Championship.
He'll find his level.
That's his level.
Yeah.
And then they'll get him back up, and he'll almost be. There's a guy at Newcastle, the forward at Newcastle, who's very similar. Is Chamberlain though? No, there's
here's Darren and it's name roulette, isn't it?
Yeah, but
it could be anyone.
Yeah, could be anyone.
Newcastle.
Yeah, it is Newcastle. But he went to West Brom as well. He's played at West Brom, played at Newcastle. He does really well in the Championship, but he can't. I'll find out who it is and let you know. Next week. Watch us next week. But he does well, but he's not that type of player.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Well, listen, Thomas, I think your spot with Phillips is a good one as well. So here's something else that I've got to add to the mix. I don't think it's only the fact that he's getting stood up and he gets beat. I also think his positional sense on the second ball is really poor. So his ability, you're right, ball down the pipe, his ability to go and win that ball and dominate is outstanding. but his positioning on the second ball is really poor. And when you're playing with another centre-half who's brand new and doesn't really know what they're doing either, and is getting caught out, that just causes you problems. We were lucky that Sheffield United didn't cause us more problems, because there were times when the ball was dropping on the second ball and Phillips was 10 yards in front of the play. You can't do that unless he's won the ball or someone's beat you to a flick on. You can't get called 10 yards ahead of the play. And I spotted that a couple of times. I was thinking, I wonder if Klopp is trying to get them to play where he steps out to try and win the ball, and then Kabak is the defensive stone, if you like. But he's not good enough.
He's more like a pebble. He's more like a pebble. I've just had a word through by the producer, Dwight Gale.
Dwight Gale, yeah. Crystal Palace.
Very similar. At West Brom, he's been alone. He does well in the Championship, but he can't make that step up to the Premier League. I can't
stand him. Scored a goal against Liverpool as well, which wound me up.
Yeah.
I'd like to thank the people for phoning up there and letting me know.
All right, so let's see how we get on Thursday. I think that's a big game for Liverpool against Chelsea. I don't think Chelsea are great. We can beat them, but I think if they're on their game, it makes it really difficult for us with the defence that we've got. He did say he thinks Fabinho will be back, and then also he said that he thought Jota may be there, but then we heard rumours over the weekend that Jota had been rushed into hospital with a suspected appendicitis.
Yeah.
Can you confirm or deny where these reports have come from?
Or deny Billy Birch gave us that information.
And why was he in for Zachley Hospital?
Exactly. I have no idea.
I think he's got Bupa insurance, I believe, Jota.
Probably. All right. So I think it was a decent weekend. I think the football will be good this week as well. There's loads of good games on this week. Looking forward to Liverpool on Thursday. But yeah, it was a decent weekend. Games went for Liverpool, especially with us beating Sheffield United. Let's hope we can carry on winning. Get back to winning ways, Daz, just to make you feel better.
Yeah, I miss winding Thomas up.
I can see how much it's upset you, Darren, us getting beat every week.
All right, so let's get into the questions. So we've got a couple of different types of questions.
3 years I've waited.
This week. We've got written questions, which have come in from some. We've got audio questions and we've got video questions. So we'll get through as many as we can. But brilliant to see that people are still sending in questions and getting us to talk about what's important to them. So the first one comes from Andy Newton, who is a long-time listener and good friend of the podcast.
Very good friend of the podcast. Yeah, I think we can. We can get away with that.
Is he a man?
Andy.
No, he's Liverpool lad, but Sports United.
That's what I mean. That's what I mean. Yeah, he's a man.
No, he's not from Manchester.
Yeah, but he's still a man.
So he said, since his loan move to West Ham, Lingard has looked like a new player. If he continues in current form, does he feature for England at the Euros? So I know Thomas's response straight away, which is England.
No. No, my answer is no.
But to give him his due, Lingard, every minute that he's played for West Ham, he's looked decent.
I liked him at West Ham. I think he's done very well there. His loan move's worked out. He seems to be given a bit more freedom than he did at United. West Ham are playing him in a really good position. I'd like him in the summer to come to Villa and get rid of Barkley, because I think he could play that role that we're looking for, and you could probably get him for 15 to 20 million, what you'd be looking to pay for Barkley. Does he get into the England squad? I think he might get into the squad, but he doesn't play. I think there's too many. Yeah, there's too many ahead of him. I think there'll have to be 1 or 2 injuries for him to actually make the squad at this moment. But I think the loan move's been a great loan move. I don't know if they can make it permanent in the summer. I don't know if he's still in Ollie's plans, but I do think he's shown other clubs around mid-table-ish, Villa, but particularly a job he can do.
Yeah.
Well said, Darren. He has impressed going to West Ham. I just think there's better, younger, just better all-round players than him to make the squad. He may scrape in, but I don't think he plays.
No, definitely
because there's too many better players than him.
Who's he competing with?
He's
so
done
people
really
like Maddison?
well.
Yeah, I think so. I think he's competing with people like Maddison, Foden to a point,
Mount,
Grealish,
no, maybe not,
maybe Rashford. It's that he's that type of player. I just think it's come too soon for him, and he needs to be more established in the Premier League.
He's never going to be good enough to. Well, mind you, England are not very good, so maybe he is. But you would think with some of the midfielders England have got coming through now, and some of the midfielders they've still got, surely he doesn't get close.
No, I don't. I don't think so either. And certainly the formation Southgate's been playing the last lot of internationals. He plays 4-3-3, and he's got the three up top. So you're looking at the four. There's four really good players that you know that are well ahead of him, and then the players just in behind, they're miles ahead. They're miles ahead of quality and suitability to play in that position.
He also seems to like this. Is a Sancho from the German side?
Yeah.
He seems to like him as well. I've not seen enough.
He needs to do better. He needs to influence the game more, but he's a quality player.
Yeah, I think he needs to come back to the Premier League.
All right. So his next question is about his own team, Man United. Man United and Ole Solskjaer didn't give him the gunner for some reason. Were written off by many in the early parts of the season. Given their current position, have they been successful, or have they been gifted the position by the shortcomings of other teams? This is a brilliant question, because I think on the surface you could say, actually, the teams around them have not been that good. But United are dealing with the same problems that everyone else is dealing with. They've had injury problems. They're dealing with the fallout of COVID. There's no fans in the stadium. They've got some young players. Defensively, they're not great. And now they're doing well. They're second. We wrote them off early in the year as well. We were giving them loads of crap because they were useless. All of a sudden, they look like a decent team. However, I think their midfield and their forwards have driven them up the league as opposed to their defence. Their defence is shocking. I mean, Maguire is one of the worst top team centre-halves I've seen.
And, well, Lindelof's not far behind either.
No. I'm astonished he let Smalling go. Because I thought he could have been a decent centre-half for them. But just on that is, I think United almost took a gamble sticking with Solskjaer, because I think it was easy to get rid of him. And they stuck with him, and they made some investments. Fernandes will be the buy for United. It's that Cantona effect I think he's had on the team. He's brought everyone else up. I think a couple of players have actually come into form. People like Luke Shaw at left back is doing a really good job for United. Yeah. I think both fullbacks are doing a decent job for United. I think they found a sort of stumbled across a system that works for them without Pogba. I think when Pogba plays, it doesn't look as fluent at times. I think they've got Fred and McTominay in the centre, and then they allow Fernandes to go and do things. I think McTominay's underrated. I think he does a really good job. He's a clever footballer. And I think they've got enough goals in them to warrant where they are, but I still think they could have done a lot better.
Who's the young lad who plays on the right?
He plays on the right and cuts in, doesn't he, on his left?
Did really well in the last couple of games. I can't remember his name. Anyway, Thomas, you may remember, Dan. You'll never remember.
No, could be it all night.
Yeah,
but they've got some decent players, and I agree. McTominay is good, and it's always good not to see Phil Jones playing. But I do think that the depth in the squad is not that great. So if they miss some key players, that's where they struggle. Daniel James, it is. Daniel James has been doing really good. I think he brings something to the team that's a little bit different. He's a young lad, but in time, I think he'll be a great player.
He's quite direct as well. You know, he's quite quick and direct. And also, you got Mason Greenwood as well, who plays that role. He
didn't look great though, did he? Against Chelsea, he looked.
But I think he's going to grow into a really good player. The problem with Greenwood is finding a position that works, because I don't think he's a main striker. They've got too many of these type of players: Rashford, Greenwood, Martial.
Come in off the wing.
Yeah, they're not really a main striker. They need a focal point to United, and then find a system, almost play that three and have a one up front like a Cavani 5 years would have been brilliant, and three behind them, and let them move, let them be fluent across the front.
What they need to do is use Cavani and then go and find someone to replace him. For next season, because they need to buy a real centre forward. If they do that, then I think it makes Rashford, Martial, and others much more dangerous.
Well, to answer the question, I think they are having a successful season because, and this is no disrespect or aimed at them, they are currently the best of a bad bunch of trying to catch City. And if they stay there, it'll be really successful. It's just what's going to happen now in these last 13 games, because if teams get their ideas or book their ideas up, Chelsea, for example, it's a bit of form. Liverpool possibly in a bit of form. They will push United, and whether or not it finishes as it is now, we don't know. But up to now, it's got to be classed as being successful because they're ahead of everybody else where they weren't expected to be at this stage. But, we still have 13 games to go, and the league doesn't lie at the end of the season, does it? So we'll soon see.
I think you've got to give him his due, Solskjaer. Yeah. I think he got totally written off. He was almost out. And we kept saying earlier on in the year, they've either got to back him or don't back him and go and bring a world-class manager in and then back that world-class manager. What it appears that they've done is they've backed Solskjaer to a certain extent. And tactically, I think he's got a lot better. With the players he's got to hand, they're not a top 2 team.
But I think
he's playing well.
What he's done, he's brought in people in his back room that he can trust. So he's got Carrick in there. He's got Nicky Butt in there. That old guard, if you like. I think Mike Phelan's involved in some capacity. So he has got that team around him who he trusts and almost like the United way. So there's no one outside coming in. It's the United way. But I think, it interests the summer for United whether, again, they go out and spend money. But the Glazers, I don't know if they've got the money because of COVID that people are thinking they've got. Yeah. So it would be interesting.
Need to buy at least 2 centre-halves.
Well, to be honest, the whole question on him, my personal opinion is I don't think he's good enough. And I think overall, in the big games, United bottle it. He just doesn't set them out right, or he doesn't inspire them enough to really go out and take the teams on that are around them. So they were just poor on Sunday. They just didn't go after Chelsea at all. And United are not known for that. And if he can inspire them to get up and go out, and have a good go at Chelsea, is he going to be good enough to go out there and buy better players again in the summer and then push them onto that next level? Personally, I don't think he is, but he's doing a good job at the moment. So
he's done well. He's done well considering where he was as well. All right, so next up are a couple of audio questions from Phil Arrowsmith. So we'll do one at a time. And Phil's got a couple of really good questions. So let's go over and see what he's got to ask us.
Hiya, fellas. My question is, we've got loads of brilliant attacking midfielders at the moment coming through. Young, exciting talent. So you've got the likes of Phil Foden, Emile Smith-Rowe, James Maddison, Jack Grealish, Mason Mount, Harvey Barnes, and I'll throw this one in. You've still got Ross Barkley, who's maybe one day will make it to the way we thought he might. So the question is, of those players, or anyone else I haven't mentioned, which would make it to your Euros squad, and which would make it to your first team? And are there any in that you just wouldn't touch with a barge pole, and why? See ya.
Brilliant question. And obviously pretty apt because we're getting to the Euros at the end of the year. Good question from Phil. Lads, do you want to kick us off?
Yeah, I think Phil drinks when he mentions Barkley.
He's never going to the Euros, is he?
Not even if someone paid for a ticket to go and watch the game. He just is out the question for me. I wouldn't touch him. He's too injury prone, not good enough at the moment, and there's better players there for him. I'd quite like to see a midfield of a three of Grealish, Foden and Maddison, because I think that would be young and exciting, and I think they move the ball well. I'd like them almost to play in a 4-2-3-1. I'd like to see what we could do with that. And I'd have 2 sitting midfield players. I'd have Henderson, because for his experience and for his organisation and his drive. And I'd have with him Declan Rice for his legs and his pace and his defensive duties. Then I'd play those 3 in front with Harry Kane up top. And I would definitely just go at it. And I'd like to see what that is in a game or two. And just say, go and enjoy yourselves.
So I think that is pretty good. I think that's a pretty good lineup. But what would you do if you had to go to 4-4-2?
Well, then
would you put up front with Kane?
If I had 4-4-2, I don't think I would. I wouldn't play a 4-4-2.
Rashford. But if you had to chase a game and you had to go maybe 3 up top or 2 up top, it'd have to be Rashford, wouldn't it? And then who'd you sacrifice out of those 5?
Or would you put Sterling behind there to move about off Kane?
Yeah, I mean, and then how can you not play Sterling?
Yeah.
Well, at the moment,
I don't think you're going to play that formation, Darren.
No, but you asked for my opinion, and surely I can give it.
Don't forget he's a Villa fan, Thomas.
But I just think England are always, and Southgate at times is always too safe. One of the best England managers for me was Terry Venables because he just went for it, and I love that for him.
More fun, wasn't it?
Yeah, and I think why not? Why
what
not
are you thinking,
go for
Thomas,
it?
in terms of formation then?
I like the 4-3-3. There's just so much that you can do with it. When you haven't got the ball, your two wide players drop in and make 5 in midfield. Just hard to get past the line, the 5 and the 4, if you drop in deep. But I'd be playing Henderson in the bottom of the 3, and then I'd have a toss-up between Grealish and Maddison on one side and Foden on the other. And then in front, I'd be playing Rashford, Kane, and a toss-up between Sterling and Sancho, but maybe I'd probably go for Sterling. That's the way I'd be playing going forward, and go for teams. You've got pure quality there.
Do you know what, mate? I don't know whether I can take you seriously because you look like you're just peeking over. You look like you're just looking over a wall, and you just had your hands on like that.
Just slid down my chair.
So I think that's probably closer to what I was thinking. I actually quite like Darren's formation with Rice and Henderson playing that hold midfield role. I just don't know whether that is ambitious enough and whether the 4-3-3 will be more ambitious. But I think you've definitely got choices there. So we included Foden, Grealish, Maddison, Henderson. You didn't involve Rice, did you, Thomas?
I didn't, but I like Rice. But what I don't like, when I compare him to Henderson, when Henderson's at his best, he dictates the game, and he can also push on and dictate closer to the opponent's penalty area and dictate the play and win the ball back for us quickly and get us attacking a game. Yeah. I don't know whether Rice has, apart from his work rate and getting stuck in, I don't think he has the same influence on a game than Henderson would have in there.
He's definitely doing better these days than he was.
Then
you've got Sancho, you've got Sterling, Kane, Rashford.
Got a lot of pace up front there, haven't you?
Do you think Greenwood might get in?
He may be the fourth one, mightn't he? As a fourth striker if he's taken 4.
Well, you're going to take Vardy, surely.
He's retired.
Yeah, well, yeah, he doesn't play. He's retired, yeah.
I'd make a phone call.
Oh, I'd get him in.
But going back to Phil about the young players coming through, I think he mentioned the lad at Arsenal, who's doing quite well at the moment.
Rowe.
Yeah. I think it's a little bit too early for him, if I'm honest with you. I think he's got to have a full season in the Premier League to see how he gets on. But he is playing well at the moment. I think Foden's probably one of the best young players for a long time. We had a golden generation of the Gerrards and Lampards, and what we don't want to do, I don't think, is make the same mistake we did with those players and move one out so with the other two play and just mess up the midfield. Why we couldn't figure out a system for Scholes, Lampard and Gerrard is beyond me, because I think it was, again, too safe. I think now's an opportunity. I think Grealish naturally goes to the left. I think Maddison naturally stays in the right. Foden goes over to the right. You've got them playing where they play for the clubs, and that's massive.
Yeah, I think that. I think Foden. You watch what he does with the ball and the way he moves with the ball, and he's different. He's a different player.
Glides,
actually, similar. Say again.
He glides, doesn't he?
Yeah, similar to Grealish though as well. When Grealish is on his game, he looks like a different level. He's got that Gascoigne type look about him, whereas Foden looks totally in control all the time, but just almost glides. As you say, that's a great description. He doesn't look like anyone can get near him. But the question is how you can knit that all together into something that actually gets us into a place where we can challenge for it. Because the reality is, we're not a good side. We're not a good team. We've got some good individuals. We're not a good team at the moment, though, are we?
But I think some of these lads have come up through the England ranks, if you like, played together. Certainly Maddison, Grealish, Foden, Rice. They've almost come through the ranks of England. All young players. And where we had a problem with the Gerrard, Scholes and Lampard saying they put club before country, I don't think this generation is going to do that.
I don't know. I think the money plays a big part. But so it is. Welcome to the coaching school of Simon. What I would do is I would basically just make the Euros as much of a laugh as I possibly could. And I would just let them all just go and enjoy yourself. Just go and play. Because I think England has become too much of a pressurized environment. And when those young players get in there, there's too much expected of them. There's too much pressure. And it just keeps coming and coming and coming. And they never express themselves like they do at the clubs. I just let them play. Get people, be really attacking. Do it like Terry Venables did it. Make it interesting. Get people to buy into football again, buy into England again. And then maybe you get to start winning again.
Do you know what, Simon? I'm going to phone Frank Skinner now. Get this song sorted. It's coming
coming
home,
home.
Simon. It's coming home.
I get bored talking about England.
But Simon, seriously, there's an element of that to it.
Yeah, definitely.
There's an element of we do well in games and then get tournament football and panic because the pressure of we've got to get to a semi-final. I think France did it really well when around about 94, they just wrote off the Euros and the World Cup and then they won it in 98 or something like that. Germany did similar, where they almost backed themselves for the following tournament.
Adam, we've been doing that for years.
Yeah, writing it off.
Yeah, we just keep writing them off. We haven't quite caught on yet. Yeah,
I'd quite like to get into liking watching England again. I can't because I think it's terrible football. I'd rather go and watch a game on the park.
Yeah, Simon, it's terrible because we're too safe.
It's just boring, isn't it? It's slow.
It's too safe.
Yeah, it's like a really poor Premier League game. Anyway.
Let's get out there. Let's express ourselves. Let these young lads go and play.
Go on, Daz. Let's take over England. Come on, we'll do it.
Well, I'd be like Mike Bassett here.
Thomas can be Mike Bassett.
Listen, Darren's a Villa fan, so you know he supports England.
I love tournament football.
Everyone south of Birmingham definitely supports England.
Darren.
All right, let's go to his next question. Another question from Phil Arrowsmith, another audio one. Let's see what he's got to say.
Hiya, fellas. Another question from me. England's so-called golden generation never really clicked on the international stage and just didn't achieve anything like we thought they would. So if you take the 2006 England World Cup squad, how many of them would make our current squad, or how many would make our current first team, and who would they replace? But also, compare them to Italia 90, or maybe even Euro 96. How many of the so-called golden generation would have replaced those players? And again, who are they replacing? Who are you leaving out? Cheers.
Another brilliant question. I mean, this is one that you'd have to think about. To go into the three different, well, it's not three different generations. It's partly the same, but I think maybe look at the 2006 type team versus now. But every one of them, wouldn't he?
Yeah, I mean, looking at it, I'm thinking Scholes, is that the Scholesy, Gerrard and
Lampard, yeah.
Lampard.
Generation, yeah.
But you had like the defence was like Ferdinand, he played centre half.
Yeah.
Ashley Cole.
Gary Neville at right back, to be fair, but did a great job there. Yeah. Beckham. I look around and I struggle to see in a year or two Foden might get into that team.
Who played up front in that tournament? Michael Owen played up. And Shearer. Michael Owen was
Michael Owen come as a sub, didn't he, against Colombia?
Yeah, he did.
And then he scored that wonder goal against Argentina.
Yeah. Argentina?
Yeah. It's like Argentina, but just better.
Just a little bit different. Okay, so we're saying, I mean, the midfield, all of them, Shearer without a shadow of a doubt.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, Kane is good, but he's no Alan Shearer.
No, he's not. Alan Shearer for me was the perfect striker.
Yeah.
And then Michael Owen versus Raheem Sterling. Michael Owen. Rio Ferdinand versus, who's going to play centre half?
John Stones.
H
and John Stones.
So H is playing. Darren can get into that England team.
Ferdinand's in. It's Ferdinand and Terry, isn't it?
Yeah, Ferdinand and Terry.
Yeah. And that was the golden generation. And I'm surprised, we touched on it earlier, that we didn't do better.
Yeah, do you see pictures all the time of that, don't you? How could we not make this team win a tournament? Because they were outstanding. I think when you go back, we had some dodgier teams. But that team, I thought was brilliant. Even the players that were on the periphery that were outstanding as well.
Yeah, come on, do a job. But it's interesting, like how, England were always known to have really quality defenders. And you look now, and we're struggling, I think, for a left back. I think we've got one or two right backs who could do a job. And I'm looking at centre halves. Only recently in the last 6 months has John Stones stepped up. And apart from that, you're struggling.
Yeah, I mean, who's your other centre half if it's not Fathead?
Mings.
yeah, Konza.
Don't knock cons assuming you were going to fall out.
I was just saying that before you did that. It's a good question. Though. We could probably do a bit more on that. Let's keep that one as well.
Well, to be honest, the Euro 96 squad is better than a lot of what we've got now. We had Sheringham and Shearer up front, McManaman on one wing, Anderson on the other, Scholes and Gaza. Was it Scholes and Gaza, wasn't it?
Gaza definitely played.
Gaza
there was someone else in the midfield as well, though, wasn't it? It wasn't just Scholes.
Tony Adams, Sol Campbell.
Yeah.
Anderson, sorry, not Anderson, Lasso, left back.
Yeah.
I don't know who was right back at that time.
Was it was it Neville? No.
96. I'm not too sure.
He's only about 12. That's all right. What we'll do
That's
is
quality. That
when we get to the end of the year and we're coming up to the Euros, we'll do that. So Phil, we will come back to that, and what we'll do is we'll compare the squad with the squads from the other tournaments, because that's a good one. That I mean, I think the other squads win every day of the week. Though.
We could almost put an ultimate squad together.
Oh, Daz, you've pushed it out there, haven't you?
I don't care. It's the type of guy I am.
Yeah. All right, Phil. Thanks for the questions. Appreciate it. And the
can I just say though?
As well.
Can I just say, Pickford's not getting in.
No matter what.
Yeah.
Okay, so next we've got a video question from Neil Holden. Neil spent a bit of time doing this. He also sends us them in writing as well. Good guy, got some good opinions. Let's see what question he's got for us.
A question about Newcastle. They're playing quite attacking at the moment after looking quite a defensive and boring side. The thing is, they could well get relegated. So my question is, as a fan, would you prefer your team to play attractive attacking football and be in a relegation position, or play defensive and boring but staying in the Premiership? Also, I just wondered what you all thought about Miguel Almiron, is it, of Newcastle? I think he's a massively improved player, and with his energy up and down the field, I wondered if he's a possibility that Liverpool might look out for him.
Great questions from Neil. Really good. I think it's interesting the way he's looking at Almiron as well. Thomas, I know you've got some views on this. Let us know what you think.
I think Almiron is a hidden gem. I really do. I think Almiron would have the same impact that Wijnaldum had. I know they played different positions, but how good a player Wijnaldum is. I think you bring Almiron into a big side with better players, I think he becomes a star. I think he's that good. He's got tons of energy, his quality on the ball, he can score. I just think he's in a poor side and you get dragged down to their level. Put him in a side around better players, I think he is a star in the making, definitely. When I've seen him play numerous times and he stands out. He stands out with his quality. Maybe doesn't influence the game enough because he hasn't got good enough players around him for the team that he's in. But his individual quality when he's on the ball, it shines out for me.
So that's the only things I'd say about him is he misses big chances. But I mean, so does everyone. But also, I don't think he influences the game as much. But that might be because of the team he's in as well. You know, they're struggling. They're finding it difficult at the moment. So maybe that plays a part as well. But he definitely is a quality footballer.
I think it depends on the price. I think if you can get him for 20, 25 million, I think it'd be a cracking buy for Liverpool. And it more than that, I'd be doubtful whether it's worth it. But you got Jota for 40 million and had a massive impact at Liverpool on his short spell. And I wonder whether he can do a similar thing. And coming off the bench, if the front three are still there, he's going to be a really good impact player.
Yeah.
But is he going to be happy with that? Darren,
I think Newcastle paid 25 million from America. So I think whatever happens, you pay him more than that. But if you remember when we signed Wijnaldum, wasn't it for 30 million? And everyone was like, who? I'm 30 million. Are you joking? And now, I'll be absolutely devastated if he goes on a free and we don't actually, it looks like he's going to Barcelona, but I'd be devastated if he goes on a free because he is such a wonderful player and he does such a good job for Liverpool. and then he shows his versatility and his skill when he goes to play for Holland, because he plays a totally different position and scores every game he plays for them. So, fabulous player. And I think Almiron could have a similar impact, obviously in a different position. But I think he's a quality player. And he'd do a great job.
The other part of his question probably plays into why he maybe doesn't influence the game as much. So the other part of his question is, do you want your team to play good football and potentially be relegated, or not play great football, not really enjoy it every week, but they stay up and do well? What's the balance there?
I think the be all and end all is you want to stay in the Premier League. I think that's
the be all and end all. It's got to be, hasn't it?
Yeah, you look at Burnley at times, and what they've done and kept them in the Premier League for the amount of time they have is phenomenal. And now and again, they got close to like a top 8, top 6. Didn't they get into Europe at one point? And then you look at Brighton, who are playing really good football at the moment. But if they're not careful, they could get relegated, and that's going to cost Brighton millions and millions of pounds. And so you almost, as a coach, you don't want to change your philosophy too much, but you might have to get something to make sure you stay in the Premier League. Going back to Villa, Dean Smith did it after lockdown, and we tightened up where we needed to tighten up. We didn't concede as many goals, and for those last 8 to 10 games, we didn't play particularly well, but we were scraping wins, and it kept us in the Premier League, and now we're doing okay. And I think that's what you've got to do. You've just got to stay in the Premier League.
Yeah, there's a lot of pressure at Newcastle to play attractive attacking football, and I know he's not liked up there, Steve Bruce, but I would be taking this opportunity now for Newcastle, Steve Bruce and the team to be the most boring team in the world. You haven't got fans in there to get on your back, or like the press will get on your back for being negative. But if you're getting them points, which they were doing earlier in the season until he started getting loads of flack, they've changed the philosophy, they changed the style of play, they're too open, they're getting caught out quite a lot. It's not on. Stay in the league. You can always build over time. And if Steve Bruce isn't the one to take them forward, at least you're still in the league to be able to build something. And if they don't, they're going to go. Simple as that.
But do you think Steve Bruce is almost seeing what's coming down the road? He's not going to be there for the long, or it doesn't appear that he'll be there for the long term. So he's thinking, I might as well have a go at this stage. Why not? Let's play some good football. Let's get to a stage where I put myself in the shop window for the next job. Play a bit of attractive football. But I don't know whether that's counterproductive, because if you go down, then you've taken a team down.
Yeah, I think people know what they get when they get Steve Bruce. I also think it has a massive impact on Newcastle as a club if they get relegated, because Mike Ashley there wants this mega amount of money to buy the club. He's had really no one come over and look at to buy the club. If they go down, it's going to be an interesting, because he's either got to drop his price because they're in the Championship, which he won't want to do, and then he won't invest. So for Newcastle, it could be catastrophic if they get relegated.
Yeah, not good.
Yeah, and he's also lost millions or billions with regards to Debenhams collapsing and all kinds like that. So, financially, he might not be on the strongest footing. Sports Direct struggling because it's not open.
Yeah, that's and the problem with Debenhams was that Blue Cross sale just didn't end.
Oh God, it's just never ending. I do think that end of the season, or as we get close to the end of the season, fire sale Newcastle, he'll just drop his price massively, because especially if they're in a position where they may go down. And then
also, I think Benitez will go back there.
Yeah, potentially. Yeah,
not without a few assurances.
Yeah, they love him though, don't they?
Yeah.
Okay, so next up is a question from our mate Sean McCusker. So we had one from him last week, which was a lot of fun. This one again is somewhat entertaining. So let's see what he's got to say.
3 men of football, yeah. 3 arseholes from Liverpool. Right, oh sure, crack on. Hello boys, hope you're keeping well. My question for you this week is, I want you to name me your ideal dinner party guests. So you're having a nice scran, whether it's chicken at Simon's house, whether it's steak at Thomas's, or Oxo Butties at Darren's, because he's into that kind of thing. These have 3 guests each. Can be from football's past, present, dead or alive. So it's 3 individuals who you would love to have a dinner party with. Bit of a laugh with whatever way you want. You're getting a band as well. Shwaddy Waddy's the band. So let me know your 3 dinner party guests who you should have for each individual. Ta-ra.
Absolutely genius. Brilliant. I love the Shwaddy Waddy.
Well, do you know what I'd say to them? Let's go for a little walk.
Thomas, is there any way of us muting his mic?
Did he just really do that?
Yeah.
Listen, I've got Oxo Butties to have in a minute.
Don't forget, this is like an audition for Darren.
He's been in this auditioning for a year. He's not getting nowhere.
He's still here. He wants to be with his mates. Let's take the positives.
And you two as well.
All right, so let's do one at a time. Right, we'll start with Daz, move to Thomas, then to me. One at a time. Just one, Daz, and then we'll come back to you for the next one. What do you think? Who's your first dinner guest?
My first dinner guest is Paul Gascoigne. Just because I just idolised him as a footballer, and he'd have some great stories to tell, better than mine. I think to be,
I think so.
Yeah, I just think he'd be brilliant because he's done so much in the game as a player, played with some great players, experience over in Italy, and he'd just be hysterical. And I've read his book and I'm fascinated by the guy. I think he's brilliant.
Love it. Thomas, who have you got?
Georgie Best.
Oh yeah,
yes,
he was on my list.
Yeah. Well, Gaza was on mine. Georgie Best, Gaza.
Don't say the third.
No, I'm not going to say it. George Best. I mean, just imagine he had all them boss ladies, didn't he?
You better be very careful.
You need to get the bleep out then.
It's all right. Rachel's not watching this anyway.
Yeah, and he likes a bevy. He'd just be a great night out, wouldn't he?
That's a good way to describe someone who died of alcoholism. He likes a bevy.
He likes a bevy.
Fucking hell.
He did say past, present, so
Yeah. All right, so I would go with, and I know he was on Thomas's list, Maradona. Maradona. Imagine. So you've seen them videos of him dancing because he's absolutely off his face. Brilliant. Imagine a night out. Imagine a night out with him in Newcastle with Gaza and Georgie Best.
Oh, you wouldn't want to live.
That was my 3.
Yeah, they were my 3 as well. All right, so you've got to think of others.
Oh, God.
I'd go for probably one of my favourite defenders is Bobby Moore. Just because the way he played the game, you'd get a lot of insight into how he marshalled the England side, West Ham side. He was just brilliant. Class.
Darren, we're on a night out. We're not going to talk about work.
Darren's thinking that he's got like a big board out and he's talking about formations.
I've got PowerPoint set up here and everything. What's all that about?
You can do
I've just
one,
invested in a projector.
All right, Tom,
your
have you got?
It's going to be boring. Oh, God. This is hard, isn't it?
Oh, I've got a crack on.
Do you know what? It'd have to be Tony Adams.
What's up with you?
That's a good one. That's a good one. You mean the Tony Adams who used to play centre midfield? Yeah, that's a good one. That.
Yeah, Tony Adams.
Okay, I would go for Kenny Dalglish.
Nice.
And there's a reason why as well. So, he's a legend, obviously, and a bit of a hero. But also, his humour is really dry. He'd be hilarious with Maradona.
Yeah.
Imagine that.
Wee man.
We'd need translators.
Yeah, for
the two of them.
Kenny.
Well, actually, Simon might know someone.
Yeah, I'm going to get someone. All right, Daz, who have you got?
Because my night is going to be great, I'm with the Volivants are on order. I'm going to bring in Johan Cruyff.
Oh, I like that, yeah. He was a bit boring though as well, wasn't he, Daz? I'm not going on your night out.
I'm not going on your night out either.
We're gonna go to the library to start off with, and we're going to finish off in a lovely little wine bar I know that serve non-alcoholic drinks.
You're not going to be drinking, Daz. All right, Tom, who have you got for your third guest?
I've just had one in my head and I've just forgot it.
Well, you've got to come up with one.
By all accounts, be Paul Mason.
Yeah. That's not a bad shout, actually.
He'd be great. Not now, because he's off the pop, isn't he?
Yeah.
A bit like myself. Oh, God.
Who have you got?
Anyone
ever?
I had a crack at them.
Well, you forgot it?
No, but I wanted an exciting night out.
Roddy Marsh would be a good one.
Rodney Marsh would be
He's
great.
not making mine. I've got mine. I've got my third one.
Well, you do yours while.
No, he's got to come up with it.
No, come on.
All right.
do yours,
So my third one is an absolute cracker. Ibrahimovic.
Oh,
How good would that be?
You'd get into any nightclub.
Him, Maradona,
and
Kenny. Does it get any better?
What
a night out. No one would be able to talk to each other.
Yeah. I can see the night with cigars, Si. That's like a cigar night, isn't it?
Yep. Thomas, who have you got? Come on.
I'm lost.
You're going on a night out. This is the thing that you do best.
I know, but I mean, I'm there, so it's going to be fun.
To be fair, Simon, they'll start at 7. They'll be asleep by 8 drunk.
Yeah. Thomas will be fighting in town.
While we're having a library crawl around Liverpool.
Whoa! Do you know what? Paul McGrath.
Oh, okay. Was that just to make Dad happy?
No, he likes a bevy.
So while we're on that, I think mine would be the best band as well, because Kenny can definitely sing. Ibrahimovic is like a pop star, and Maradona can be the dancer. He can be like
the drummer. He'd be Animal, the drummer.
No, he can be the dancer. Like, what's his name out to the Happy Mondays? Bez. Imagine him. Oh, genius. All right, that was a brilliant question. I love that. McCusker, keep them coming, but stop slagging us off at the start, because it's just not fair. Maybe we should slag him off.
He looks special.
I can't, mate. He's got links.
Yeah, to your family. He sits in your chair.
Yeah.
All right, that was great. Really like that. So if people have got questions, please send them in. We'll be encouraging people this week to send in questions. In fact, next week, what we're going to do is we're going to focus on picking the worst Premier League 11 we can remember. So 11 players, 11 of the worst players you can imagine. We'll try and create a team. And the competition is, how bad can it be?
Yeah. Yeah, it could be bad here.
That'll be next week. But if you've got questions, get them in. We'll store them up, and then we'll try and answer them as best we can. That's a really good part of the show, because we get to talk about different stuff. And also it's stuff that people want to hear. So let's keep that going. So next up, Thomas, is your next favourite section, which is the word association. So you actually have to wake up now, because this is another one where this could go badly wrong.
No, I'm on my best behaviour this week.
I had a couple of complaints last week because of your language, and that was why I had to beep them out.
From Simon's neighbours.
Yeah. All right. So, Daz, have you got your lineup of word association?
I have, yes.
Okay, Daz, you kick us off.
Okay, ready, Thomas?
Just so the rules are meant to be, you can only use one word. However, we recognise that on some of these, that's quite difficult. So you can use more, but let's keep it as short as possible.
Okay.
Not like a mad rant where we have to beep it out for 5 minutes.
No worries, go on.
Okay.
All right, go on, Daz.
Liverpool Spice Boys.
Armani suits.
White Armani suits. Jersey Dudek.
Legend.
Sven Göran Eriksson.
Eureka Johnson.
Well done. All right. Football or beer?
Football.
What?
Gary Neville bromance with Jamie Carragher.
Yeah, they're all right. They're not playing no more.
What are you doing in your spare time, Dad? All right. South Liverpool Vets or Liverpool?
Oh, the Vets.
Yes.
Bramley Moor, Everton's new ground.
Never going to happen.
You can see that
There goes the Everton fans.
West Ham to get into Europe ahead of Liverpool.
Ooh, get your bleep ready. Possible. Doing well.
Okay.
Best football city outside Liverpool.
Milan.
Good one. Oh, that was a good one. That's well done. All right. James Rodriguez is better than Firmino.
I don't think so.
All right, that's your last one.
Okay. Football supporters on Twitter.
Knobs.
All right. My last one. Afternoon out shopping with Rachel or watching Liverpool with a beer?
Liverpool with a beer.
I'm going to cut this bit out and send it to her.
It doesn't matter. She knows. Nothing gets in the way of the Reds.
Genius. Yeah, well done. It was a good one. Enjoyed
I
that.
held back there.
Hey, Eureka Johnston.
That was brilliant. Off the cuff as well. It's almost like you prepared that, Daz. Well done. Yeah, I love that. We'll keep that coming. Also, if anyone wants to submit any statements to be included, crack on.
Yeah.
Let's get them going. And obviously, it'll get worse whenever Liverpool get beat or we don't get the result we want, like last week. All right, lads, that was a great one. Really enjoyed that. Great feedback from people who were listening. It looks like they're enjoying the questions, getting other people contributing to the podcast. Great to see the videos coming in as well, even if we do have to look at Sean McCusker's mug. So, Daz, final thoughts?
I think the Premier League is going to be a race for the top four, which is interesting, and so is the bottom relegation side of things. Lots to play for lots of teams. I'm looking forward to the games coming thick and fast.
Thomas?
That was lovely, that, Darren.
Yeah, very profound, Daz.
Yeah. Yeah, thanks, Darren. Yeah, I'm good.
So I can't wait for the footy to come back. Our footy. So I've got to be honest. I'm not enjoying the Premier League that much at the moment. I'm a little bit bored of it. Even the Liverpool games. It sounds really weird, but there's times when I'm thinking I could walk away from this game now, which it seems really alien. But I just don't think it's that good without the fans in, and it's getting ridiculous now. It's gone on that long. So I'm really looking forward to getting out and kicking the ball around again. I mean, we'll be useless, and Thomas will be moaning at us for days afterwards. But it'll be a good laugh. It'll be great to see all the lads. Great to get together again, and maybe at some stage before the year's out, go and have a beer. 4 or 5.
Steady on, Simon.
Well, not you, Daz. You're drinking Diet Coke. But yeah, it's coming back soon. Hopefully, we're on this roadmap out now. The vaccine is progressing well, 20+ million. Hopefully, these new variants don't cause us any problems. We get back to footy soon, and we get some fans back in the stadiums because we're desperate for them. So fingers crossed, get back to some level of normality. Have a brilliant week. If you want to listen to any of the old podcasts, log on to the website at www.3menandfootball.com. Check out YouTube. All the videos are on there. Download the podcast from Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Let us know. Give us your feedback. Let us know what questions you've got for us. Submit them to any of us via video, audio, or written, and we'll get them into the podcast. And we'll see you all on the next one. Nice one, lads.
Take care, guys.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.